Go, fight, win. In every school, excluding elementary schools, there are sports and after-school activities. Now, the only controversy that is the most arguable is whether or not cheerleading should be labeled and defined as a sport. Today, I am going to persuade you to label competitive cheerleading as a sport. I will persuade you by first explaining what a cheerleader is required to do when performing, second, what the dangers of competitive cheerleading are, and finally, discussing the similarities and differences between football and competitive cheerleading. First, let me explain what a cheerleader is required to do when performing. The definition of a sport, according to the Oxford Dictionary last visited November 4, 2014, is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another for entertainment. Cheerleading, especially competitive cheerleading, fits that definition. Competitive cheer includes a 2.5-minute routine involving jumps, dance, and stunts. All these aspects require skill and also competing against other teams for entertainment and a win. The jumps that are in cheerleading have to have good technique and require enough strength to get both legs up in the air and keep the technique. The dancing is fast-paced and sharp dancing. It isn't a hip-hop or lyrical dance, it is a cheer dance. A cheerleader has to be tight and sharp and clean when dancing. Now, the stunting is probably the hardest part of the 2.5-minute routine. Stunting is where a group of 3 or 4 cheerleaders hold one cheerleader up in the air. Typically, there is one holding a foot, another holding the other foot, and the last girl is holding the ankles. And occasionally, there is a girl in the front for extra safety precautions. There are hundreds of different stunts, including bouncing on 2 feet, known as full or half, bouncing on 1 foot, known as a lip, and twisting in the air, known as twist down. All of these elements are in a 2.5-minute routine, having at least 2 jump sequences involving 2 to 5 jumps each, over 10 different stunts, and a big dance sequence. What is strange about competitive cheerleading not being labeled as a sport is that it has a national and world competitions, just like any other sport. For example, there is an all-star competition where, according to USAF.net, last access November 24, 2014, more than 120 United States All-Star Federation / International All-Star Federation member event producers across the U.S. and in over 40 countries around the world qualify top teams at their premier national championship to compete at the Worlds. Second, I will share with you the dangers of competitive cheerleading. The dangers of competitive cheerleading has to do with the safety equipment and stunts. When practicing, some high school cheer squads, who also are competitive cheer squads, do not have the necessary safety equipment or space. From my experience, my high school could only provide mats. And on that note, we the cheerleaders had to pay for them. Our mats were a good 2.5 inches thick, and that's the only thing separating us from the floor. The designated practice area was a hallway, not the gym, because that is where the sport teams practice. The height of the ceiling was not tall enough for us to practice our stunts. Stunts are very dangerous, and if they are not properly executed, the results can be injuries or even death. According to momstream.com, last updated September 16, 2013, and a study reviewing incidents of catastrophic cheerleading injuries reported to the National Center of Catastrophic Sport Injury between 1982 and 2002, researchers found that 29 out of 39 injured athletes were cheerleaders. Collegiate cheerleaders had a rate of head injuries 5 times higher than senior high school cheerleaders, and 18 of the 27 reported catastrophic injuries involved head injury, including 16 cases of cerebral edema or hematoma, 13 skull fractures, and 2 deaths. Also, according to health.usnews.com, last updated June 28, 2013, states that the overall injury rate of cheerleading is low compared to other girls' sports, such as soccer and basketball. But despite the lower overall injury rate, cheerleaders accounts for disproportionate numbers, 60 to 70%, of all catastrophic injuries in girls' high school sports. That is an area of concern and needs attention for improving safety. Finally, I will discuss the similarities and difference between the All-American sport, football, and competitive cheerleading. First, a few similarities. Both of these sports practice for hours during the week and sometimes for extra hours on the weekend. Both of these sports put in the physical activities such as running. In a football game, the players are running up and down the field. In competitive cheerleading, the cheerleaders run to warm up and they run to get to the next spot to execute the routine. Both sports strive to win and work as a team. The whole point of a football game is for one team to score more points and win. The whole point of a competition is for one squad to score more points and win. In order to win either a football game or a cheerleading competition, both sports teams have to work together. According to dictionary.com, last access, November 24, 2014, football is defined as a game in which two opposing teams of 11 players each defend goals at opposite ends of a field, having goal posts at each end, with points being scored chiefly by carrying the ball across the opponent's goal line and by place kicking or drop kicking the ball over the crossbar between the opponent's goal posts. And according to varsity.com, last access November 24, 2014, cheerleading is defined as when cheer squads compete against each other at a competition. A few differences between football and competitive cheerleading. One sport chases a football and the other chases a girl. One sport tackles the opposing player and the other catches the falling teammate. One is a growing sport, the other is not. According to an article from USA Today titled Cheerleading in the U.S., a Sport and an Industry, last updated April 22, 2002, states that football is not growing, says Jeffrey Webb, president and CEO of Varsity Spirit Corporation. Cheerleading is. In conclusion, competition cheerleading should be labeled as a sport because of, first, what a cheerleader is required to do when performing, second, the dangers of competitive cheerleading, and finally, because the differences between the all-American sport, football, and competitive cheerleading are not as different as people think. A sport is defined according to the Oxford Dictionary as an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or teammate competes against another for entertainment, and competitive cheerleading fits that definition.